Have we got O'Keefe? Yep. All right, we got O'Keefe. This is why I want to bring on James O'Keefe today. This is the benefit of owning the news. James O'Keefe is obviously the award-winning journalist and writer who has started Project Veritas and Project Veritas Action. He has done all these hidden camera. You know, Andrew Breitbart used to stand up at the end of his speeches and hold up his phone and say, if you have a phone like this, meaning a camera phone, you are a journalist. Obviously, James O'Keefe has pulled this to a new level. He's exposed Planned Parenthood's racist policies. He caught them on the phone, agreeing to concentrate on aborting black children. I mean, amazing stuff. Obviously the Acorn expose that really virtually destroyed that organization. And now he's gone after CNN and says he's going after the mainstream media. James, how you doing? Been a long time. I haven't seen you since the NRO cruise, I think it was.
Yeah, we were on that National Review boat, and I was giving a presentation on voter fraud. Great to see you again.
It's nice to see you, too, and you certainly have gotten yourself into more trouble.
Always.
Yes, always. So let's start with this. I mean, one of the things that the left loves to do is they love to take guys like you or Fox News or Rush Limbaugh and demonize them to the point where all the left has to do is speak your name, and it seems to refute the points that you're making. So all the left ever does is they say, oh, that's Fox News. Oh, that's James O'Keefe. That's Rush Limbaugh.
Right.
So they put you in this position. And so I wanted to bring you on to let you talk back into that. Let's start with this. You've gone after Planned Parenthood. You went after Acorn. You went after NPR. Why are you now going after, you say you're just starting with CNN, right? Is that
right? Right. Yes.
Why are you going after the news media?
You know, you're someone who likes to bring up Andrew Breitbart's name up a lot, and I do too, because he was a kind of a media mentor of mine. The media is everything. The media, Dinesh D'Souza says the Republicans they're afraid of the terrifying power of the press's narratives. The ability for the media to shame the Republican Party. It's not based in any type of truth or sort of reality. It's based in shame. And the political left has a sort of monopoly on virtue in this country. They're the good, they're the evil, we're good. It's not just right and wrong. It's not just logic. It's we're good and they're evil. And as long as the media is able to create this false dichotomy where they're literally wanting to kill poor people and hate black people, it's not true. But as long as the media is able to create these artificial constructs, then we're not governed the right way. So what we want to do is expose the media's real political motivations, and this Russia stuff that we exposed in the CNN was pretty earth-shaking because it showed senior CNN leadership were doing things they knew that was, in their words, BS, in order to make profit and to advance this agenda. And that's the reason why we're doing it. Andrew Breitbart said the media is everything, James. The media is everything. The media has more power than we think it does, and we're at a crossroads in our country where that power is now shifting away from the established media towards the citizen press.
Well, that is exactly my next question, because I agree with everything that you just said. I mean, obviously they have created an atmosphere, an intellectual atmosphere where it's almost hard to think, because if you're not a leftist, you're a racist. If you're not a leftist, you're a sexist. If you're not a leftist, you're hateful. That's the way, basically, they have taught everybody to think, and even sometimes you hear the right talking about this. So you just said at the end of what you were saying, you said the power is shifting away. Do you believe that? Do you believe that the mainstream media is being beaten back?
To an extent, we're at the tipping point, and we haven't quite crossed it. The CNN, MSNBC, NBC News, ABC News still has power, a certain type of power. They have power over certain people. The Republican Party. They have power over the Republican Party. They don't have power over the voters. Voters voted for Trump despite the media. I don't think Trump had a single cheerleader in any media, and Trump won despite them. But they have power over Mitch McConnell. The media has power over Paul Ryan. I mean, incredible power. In fact, if you're a Republican in D.C., you have 17 microphones pointed in your face. Any human being that cares about their own survival and self-interest it takes an enormous amount of moral courage living in Washington, D.C. I can't live in D.C., and I'm sure you couldn't either. To live in that environment and be pummeled by this gaggle every day of people who, why do you hate black people? Why do you want Susie to die and take away her wheelchair? You can't do it. So The media has certain types of power, and you're seeing this shift, this incredible thing that's happening, where the voters are becoming even more disenfranchised. They have no one to speak for them. The New York Times is, I said on Twitter today, will go down with this ship. They will go down with the Russia story, even if it's fake. They're so invested in it that if they were, Dinesh D'Souza said again, he said, only one person is going to be victorious, the media or Trump. It's one or the other. It's a fight to the finish.
Yes.
They're so invested in this Russia crap that they will do anything, even if it means inventing a new Nixon and manufacturing the crime. They'll do anything to win. So you're seeing a lot of things happen right now. So what does Veritas do? My organization, we are exposing the media with hidden cameras, and CNN is only part one.
That's what I wanted to ask you again. I mean, CNN is great because it has this aura of being the kind of the news station, the cable news station, even though
not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of nasty of you to do that to them. But of course, the big fish are the Times, CBS, NBC, ABC. I mean, the people don't realize that the networks have 10 times the viewers of cable stations. I don't want to give anything away, but are you going to move on to these bigger fish?
Yes. I'll just say that.
Okay. All right.
Yes. We already have footage on our hard drives secured in multiple locations. So if anything were to happen to me, it'd come out. People always say, well, do you save the footage someplace other than what, I say, yes, the footage exists securely and we already have it. And I would say you're going to see stuff come out certainly in the fall, maybe sooner. We do undercover work. So the moment we release a tape, it burns the person on the inside.
There, yeah.
So we can release a tape now, but it would prevent our journalists from getting even more. The Bonifield tape you saw with CNN, some of that material was got literally 5 days before we released it. That was a 5-month investigation. So undercover work is tricky because you always have to sort of pull the plug, and sometimes it's more of an art than a science.
Now the other thing, I mean, I noticed after you did that powerful Acorn expose, the New York Times basically buried that story. They wouldn't cover it. And finally they did. But then you got arrested during one of your escapades, and they put your mugshot above the fold on the front page. And I remember saying, I was at PJTV at the time, and I remember saying, if the thing that he does isn't a big story, why is his arrest a big story? That doesn't actually make any sense. So they had put in a lot of effort into demonizing you. And of course, the big thing that they always say is the tape is edited. This is heavily edited tape. And so answer that, because I see even on my Twitter feed where people are sympathetic, I hear people say, well, he does edit his tapes.
That's the greatest lie. It's a deceit of epic proportions. This is no longer fake news. It's now a contamination. It's twisted. Roger Simon wrote a great piece here. It's more amazing than I could write. And he writes that all videos are basically unfairly edited, as Sergei Eisenstein and the early Soviet directors demonstrated. It's the nature of the medium. Some things get left in, and some things get left out. But of course, if you look at the actual aesthetics of it, what we show is true. We don't take anything out of context. The word "edit" is an obfuscation. I mean, the New York Times edits their articles. You don't get to see the anonymous sources. You don't get to hear the intonation of the source talk to the reporter. They paint a portrait with adjectives and words. What Veritas does is show you the videotape. It's inherently real. It's more real than any other type of journalism. And what I've discovered in doing this is Veritas isn't just exposing corruption and fraud and deceit. We're exposing the whole matrix. We're exposing the greatest lie, the lie that, for example, teachers' unions care about children. And then when we got the teachers' union president say, we hate children, it's all about the money. They cannot accept the reality that we deliver. So the instinct of any organization or individual is survival. So they call me names, I'm a criminal, I'm this, I'm that. But when it comes to the editing thing, all journalism is edited. The difference is, Andrew, we leave in what they omit. We show the things they don't want you to show. So really, it's not so much that we edit. They would argue that we're reductionist. But teachers' unions are good because they give money to the Democrats. They just have this cognitive dissonance, this rationalization. So they it comes out. Well, he edits the film. Well, there's no out of context edit. Van Jones did indeed say that Russia is a nothing burger.
Was he talking about?
But they'll say, but that's bad that you're showing the American people that, because the American people will come to the wrong conclusion about Trump. It's a rationalization that you're seeing.
Is Van Jones, when Van Jones said that, was he talking about the entire Russia story, or was he talking about a specific story? He's
talking about the Russia. He says, well, this is the hidden camera. We approach Van Jones. This is the big story, one of the big stories on CNN.
Right.
And he goes, oh, Russia's just a nothing burger. There's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
And that's a little open to interpretation. What does he mean? He was explaining himself awkwardly on Anderson Cooper the other night, and it was really hilarious to watch. But the point to you is there's a conflict of visions between us, you and I, citizens, who believe that the American people deserve to have unfiltered, raw, true information, and the New York Times and CNN, which says, no. Don't show the American people the raw information, because the raw information might lead them to vote for Trump, might lead them to vote against the teachers' unions, might lead them to say we need to reform welfare. In other words, the mainstream media depends upon selective editing and obfuscation and camouflage through flowery written articles. And Veritas presents to you raw, unfiltered information. So to answer your question is, of course they have to say that don't look at that tape. Don't look at that tape. And that's what this all comes down to. It comes down to a war and a conflict of visions between these two competing forces.
You've actually been kind of persecuted for doing this, haven't you? I mean, that's obviously you haven't been hung upside down and tortured, but you've been given a really hard time by actual legal authorities, isn't that fair?
I've been arrested. I've been falsely accused. In Louisiana, it was not true. I always say to the people on Twitter, I say, well, you're a convicted criminal. I said, yes, I have a Class B misdemeanor, Bob Kramer is a convicted felon. He's best friends with Barack Obama. Martin Luther King was a convicted criminal.
Yeah.
Throughout the 20th century, history is replete with examples of people who pursue justice and are falsely accused. And you'd think the left would understand this concept of falsely accused. This is like they don't understand. Like, I don't understand. We're doing something that has never been done before. We're taking hidden camera. We're combining it with crowdsourcing technology, and we're distributing it to the masses. No one has ever done that the way that we're doing it. And I stood falsely accused in Louisiana. The prosecutors resigned in disgrace. They destroyed my evidence. If I was doing this to the NRA, I'm sure that we would have Nobel Peace Prizes, Academy Awards. but you know, I choose to go after the sacred cows.
Yeah.
And I don't complain about it. I believe that it's more it's kind of more fun to go against the grain, but it is what it is.
Is there? Well, let me ask you this as a final question. Are you hopeful at this moment? I mean, the mainstream media, one of the things I really like about Donald Trump is what he has done to the mainstream media, and that he has become a voice of all these people who, as you say, have been demonized by the mainstream media. And he has become their voice. They think it's a glitch, a bug that he attacks them. Most Americans, I think it's a feature that he attacks them. Right this moment, are you hopeful that the grip they have on our national conversation can be actually broken?
That's a great question. Here's my twofold answer. Number one, I think that Trump has the ability to transcend his presidency by going after the media, because we are at a turning point. I think things are lined up for a pendulum shift right now away from the 50-year centralization of social control that the mainstream media has over it's a propaganda war. I mean, it is what it is. It's a propaganda war. They've been doing this since the 1920s. The idea that you can filter information. The New York Times, and by the way, hint, we may have some of these media people on tape saying what I'm saying right now, like in their own their motivation.
Cool.
They do not want you to see the truth, because if you do, if people could see Lois Lerner from the IRS saying, let's go after those conservatives because we don't like them, there would be riots in the street. Forget the hearings. Forget the political gamemanship of DC. People would say, I don't believe in the system anymore. And the media has an interest in protecting the status quo. So when you get these people on tape saying that, And Donald Trump tweeted embedded our videos in Instagram. Donald Trump, the press secretary of the United States, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, said, go watch these Project Veritas videos. When you have a president who has the brass balls to say, hey, media, calling you out, this has the potential to transcend his presidency and expose the media once and for all. So I think I am hopeful, but also, Andrew, I know that the New York Times will go down with the ship. Mm-hmm. They will die on the cross. It doesn't matter how fake or unreal the Russia stuff is. They will never, ever admit they are wrong. I don't know if you saw the thing I did with the Washington Post where I framed the retraction. I framed the front page retraction. This is my way of showing the American people that they're going down with the ship. I mean, I put the retractions front and center so people can see it.
Well, James, I think really this is truly important work. I think you made the right choice in who you're going after, and I'm looking forward to see what you do next, and I hope you'll come back and talk about it.
We'll be back. I promise you.
All right. Thanks a lot, James. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. Stuff I like. You know, it really does matter. I mean, this thing, he's absolutely right that this is where the battle is being fought. It is being fought in the level of information, not just in the news media, but also in the academy, also in Hollywood. And personally, I think we're really at a turning point. And I think we have a true chance of winning. That doesn't mean we will win, but I think we have a true chance of winning. Stuff